Welcome to GarageBand Weekly, episode number 11 here for the 2nd of March 2020. This is our live show here on Studio Live today about all things GarageBand. And on today's show, we'll be talking about Apple Loop and copyright blues, no fix in sight for a recording issue on the iPad, and my rant of the week will be about comfort zones. How comfortable are you? Are you pushing out of your comfort zone, and should you? We'll be talking about all of that and more. But if it is your first time, who am I? What is this? My name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And in this particular show, I tell you and talk about how to do that here in GarageBand. If you're here live on Facebook or YouTube, welcome to you. If you've got questions or comments, please drop those down in the comments. I will swing around towards the end of the show and see if there are any specific questions or comments that we can chat to. And if you're watching on the replay, you don't need to feel bad. All you need to do is jump down into the comments, leave a comment there. Myself and the other members of the Studio Live Today community will be there to chat to you and answer any questions you may have. Let's jump into the news and notes for this week. And right off the bat, I'm just going to cover this quickly because it is the big news topic at the moment. There is a world health crisis going on at the moment, which most people would know about. It is actually impacting, by the way, world health and people's health and well-being is obviously number one importance. We're just talking about some gear and some production and things here, but it has had a significant impact on the production of a lot of gear, a lot of audio gear, and even the iOS devices that are being produced out of China. So there are limitations and things out of stock and production delays and shipping delays happening around the world at the moment. So it's something just to keep in mind that, yes, when things like this, when we have world events that happen like this, it is going to restrict and limit some of those sort of things. So again, it is what it is. And I'm just mentioning it to say that if you are wondering why, when you're going to all of your different websites and you're trying to get things on Amazon and you're trying to buy a new iPhone, that we may start hearing a lot more of that product is out of stock. Just something to keep in mind. Speaking of products, the Apple March event is rumored for the 31st of March. And what is rumored to be seen is interesting. In the world of what's related to GarageBand, there hasn't been a lot of Mac-related rumors, but the big rumor from the iOS world is that we will be seeing a new iPhone. We'll be seeing what they're calling the iPhone SE2 or iPhone 9. Now, what this is rumored to be, again, it's all speculation, is an iPhone 8 body, but with the updated chip used in probably the iPhone 11 chip. So it will be a really interesting device because it's rumored to also be $400. So it may be a really good entry point for someone who wants a good chip, some decent memory, the ability to run iOS 13 in the latest GarageBand, and not spend a whole bunch. Like this phone cost me, you don't want to know. It was nearly $2,000. Yeah, I know, ridiculous. And this is an iPhone XS. This is already obsolete. Anyway. So that's the other news that's coming out of that event. So keep an eye and an ear. I'll make sure that as soon as things are confirmed and that we know things, I will let you know right here on the channel. Next note, Apple Loop copyright blues. So there's been some more reports in the last couple of weeks from folks who are releasing music with Apple Loops getting pinged for copyright claims. Now, why does this happen? I won't go into all the details because I've covered it in previous videos, but the Content ID system, especially on YouTube, can actually claim things if something that you release matches exactly what someone else has released. So if someone else has used a loop as part of, an Apple loop as part of their song, Apple say 100% cool. You can use Apple Loops royalty-free in your songs. No one's going to come at you. However, if someone else releases something that has an Apple loop in it, they get Content ID on that, and then you release something with that loop, that's where this can happen. You can, of course, dispute it, but my advice on this is whenever you're using Apple Loops, change it. Change something. EQ it differently. Change the speed. Change the pitch. Do something to it to make sure it's your own, because anytime you are playing just an Apple loop, even if it's like that drum intro you just had there, that could be technically claimed as Content ID. Like if I release this song that I just played and the intro as Content ID, and then someone used that exact same drummer part, technically it could happen. It's unlikely, but it could. So yes, if you're running into those troubles and you're using loops, make sure that you are changing loops or bringing two loops together, even better. As soon as you start combining multiple loops, you can get around that. And the final news and note here is just something that's been frustrating me this week is that there's a problem at the moment with iPad, not iPhone, but iPad, with running in background mode for GarageBand. So you may be aware that you can actually hit record, switch apps to a different app, and then still be recording in GarageBand in the background. Now, on your phone, that's working fine at the moment. On the iPad, it is randomly cutting out after 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And this is really annoying because I was singing some lyrics yesterday. I hit record, I switched apps over to my notes app, started singing, and boom, cuts out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's that problem from like 6 months ago that still hasn't been fixed. So if you're having that same problem, you have my sympathy and empathy, or whichever the one is the one. Alrighty, let's say good day to the folks who are here live. We have Keating Simons, hello to you. Dave Fiano is here. Our Marissa is here. Jade Star is here. SM Borthwick, hello to you. Bubba, I hope you're doing well. Clearly Epic, we've got here. Alan Vega, hello to you. And Shielding Agent is here. We've got a bunch of folks, probably people that I've missed. Apologies if I have missed you. We will circle back and chat to you folks again at the end if there's anyone that has any question. Oh, and Sion says, just made it. You did, just made it in time. Let's come in to the next section, which is my rant of the week. And I did allude to this at the start, and I'll make this a reasonably quick rant. Well, I say that, but you know. My rant of the week is about comfort zones, and it's about your lizard brain, and it's about the resistance. So I've been reading a lot of, I read a lot. So I read a lot of business books. I read a lot of motivational books, a lot of sort of psychology type stuff. I like to know what makes people tick and what makes me tick as a creator. And I've been reading Seth Godin lately. If you don't know Seth Godin, very good author, very smart dude, but the sort of smart dude that doesn't talk down to you. He just talks over to you. You know what I mean? So he has a book called Linchpin, which is a really good book. If you're in the workforce or if you're doing anything, you should probably read Linchpin. It helped me a lot in my career, in my day-to-day dealings. But one of the things that he talks about in that is this idea of the resistance and of the lizard brain. So the lizard brain, you also know it as the fight or flight mechanism. And a lot of people, for a lot of reasons, are engaging their lizard brain a lot at the moment, which is where as soon as something happens, you're either going to fight or you're going to run away. And this came from the fact that back in the day when we were cave people and we were dwelling, you needed that, because if you heard a sound that sounded like a saber-toothed tiger, chances are it probably was a saber-toothed tiger. And instead of getting eaten, you needed to scarper as quickly as possible or find the largest, biggest stick nearby and see if you could fend off that tiger. However, we don't have too many tigers these days in most parts of the world. However, that part of our brain still sits there. But instead of it going, hey, I don't want me and my family to be eaten by a tiger, it says, I don't want people on the internet to call me names. I don't want my family to laugh at me for something that I do. And these are the things that I have struggled with, and everyone that's a creator tends to struggle with, or not everyone, but a lot of folks. And it's this idea of the comfort zone, is that if you stay within your comfort zone and you're just creating things and you're just ticking along, it would be very comfortable for me to not do live shows on the internet. It'd be very comfortable for me to create my music and then just keep it all to myself and not put it out there, because my lizard brain says, what if something goes wrong? What if there's some technical difficulties? What if your microphone stand falls down in the middle of the show? How embarrassing would that be? And then the thing is, my logical brain says, not really bad at all. I'll pick the microphone stand back up. It's fine. And the same with releasing music on the internet. What will a bunch of strangers I don't particularly care about think about my music? It's like, well, does that even actually matter? By the way, it's not that I don't care about you. I do, because I know that none of you would put trollish comments and just be unreasonable. But you can see the point here is that a lot of folks limit themselves. And bringing it back to Seth Godin and what he talks about, he says that you know you're on the right track when things feel slightly uncomfortable. And that's sort of the message that I wanted to leave you with today, is that if you're feeling comfortable all the time, you are probably not pushing things outside of that zone. And as soon as you get that feeling that's like, oh, yeah, I mean, you don't have to go nuts. Don't start jumping out of planes if that's not your scene, but you can push yourself out. And I've said before, your comfort zone is like this, and every time you push it, it expands out. If it's like a balloon. If you blow up a balloon really fast, it'll burst. But if you slowly blow your balloon up, bit by bit, you'll find that it strengthens. And once it gets to a nice big size, then you can create lots of balloon music. Okay, I'm mixing my metaphors here today, but hopefully, if you are on the fence about creating, about releasing music, about sharing music, hopefully this gave you a little bit of something to think about. And check out that book too, Linchpin by Seth Godin. Let's get back to GarageBand because that actually had nothing to do with GarageBand. It was just something I was thinking about while creating in GarageBand this week. My tip of the week this week is how to record in track view mode. So if you use GarageBand on your iPhone or iPad, as I do, and I'll bring it around. Oh, is it plugged in? Yes, it is. I'll bring my iPad around like this. You'll notice that there's a small problem here is that if you're recording some vocals, say you select this vocal track and you hit record, I'll just record over my own vocals here. It brings you into this screen. Now that's not great because you can't see your track view anymore. Let's just undo that so I don't go, why do I have that random bit of audio on there? Undo. All right. So yeah, that's not really handy. What can you do about this? Well, if you have a multi-channel interface, you can actually arm two channels, and this tip works well even if you're not recording two tracks. So let's just say that you have something like, grabbing props left and right here today. Say you have something like this, something like the Steinberg UR22. This has two channels, and when you plug this into GarageBand, it brings up the two channels. And what you can actually do is say, put a guitar on one and a microphone on the other. And when you're recording in that mode, guess what? It leaves you, too many props here today, Pete. It leaves you in that view. So you can actually see what you're recording. You can follow along and see the different parts of your recording. So that is my tip of the week. And yes, it does require you to have a two-channel interface, but two-channel interfaces are not super expensive. If you want to pick up something like the Behringer UM2, that's about $40, $50 interface in most parts of the world. So that's a really cheap and effective way to get into it. And that is two channels. You can do exactly this. Or if you go up to sort of the $100 to $150 mark, you can get something like the Steinberg UR22, which is what I recommend and use, as you can see, and have been using on my new track. So that is my tip of the week. If you have a two-channel interface, even if you're not recording two channels, just arm up a second channel, record nothing to it, but it still means that you'll be able to have that nice view when you're recording. Alrighty, we are getting through. Let's talk about the plugin of the week. Now, this is one I have talked about these before, the Nembrini audio plugins. These are free plugins, free for iOS, and they are available on Mac. I think there's some free ones on the Mac as well. There are also some paid plugins, but one of the free iOS plugins that I'm loving at the moment is the, sorry. Things are flashing at me now, and I don't like it because I've unplugged my iPad. One of the ones that I'm really loving at the moment is the Chorus plugin. And I actually used this on my recent track. In fact, I'll give you a demo of this in a moment, and I'll bring it up here because why not? It's an audio show. Pete, you should be able to actually play audio of things. So I'll just find the right track. I believe this one. Yeah, so this is the Chorus plugin by Nembrini, and I had a guitar solo in my song, and it sounded kind of okay, but it wasn't really popping, and didn't have the kind of sound that I wanted to. So I reached for the free Nembrini plugin. Let's just take a listen. Here's what the guitar sounded like. Turn up my volume over here. Here's what the guitar sounded like before I added the plugin. Here it is. So it's got a bit of delay on there. But when we bring it back into the mix, maybe it just doesn't really sort of poke out like I wanted it to. So reach for the Nembrini plugin, threw it on here in its absolute default mode. And what do we get now? We get a sound like, moving my playhead like this. And you just get that rich, deep kind of stereo sound that you get from a chorus. And this is a really high quality chorus. Like, yes, GarageBand has its own chorus plugin. I could have used that. But there's something about the Nembrini, the plugins you get with it, and the fact that it's free and that everyone can use it, I think it's just kind of cool. So definitely check that one out. There'll be a link down in the description. If you're watching on the replay, I haven't added it yet if you're watching live. But if you go to your app store and you search Nembrini, Nembrini, you should be golden and find that plugin over there. There you go. A little live demo that actually worked out okay. Very good. Let's jump over and see. I think I saw a question over here from the folks who are here live, and I think it was, whoa, going all the way back up. Uh, yes, love me some dead air in this, don't you? I've missed the question. It was from Alan Vega, and I saw a question and I wanted to answer it, but I can't find it. Hello to Leonard Higgins. Yes, it was my birthday yesterday, or what is today in the US. It is the 1st of March. Alan also saying happy birthday. Thank you very much. I still can't find the question that I saw here before. That's going to bug. Oh, there it is. Hello. It was from Alan. Hello, Alan. Question from Alan is, if I split a track, will the split portion be isolated and mixable, not affecting the rest of the track? If you split a track, will the split portion be isolated and mixable, not affecting the rest of the track? Yeah, if you split a track, you can go in and if you split a track, you can tap on that portion of your track. We'll bring up my iPad around here so we can just have a look. So if you split a track out like this and you've got a portion there, it's still going to be mixed in with all of your mixers and all your plugins and everything over here, but it then has its own clip gain and other things under settings here. So you can tap settings and then you can change things like the gain, looping, the speed, you can reverse it, you can do all of those things. But if you split it and you want it to have different mix settings, what I do is I duplicate that track and then I shift that section down. So say that guitar solo I was just playing you, if I wanted the rest of that to not have the chorus, but just the solo to have the chorus, I would just duplicate that track so that it has exactly all the same settings, move that one little piece of audio down, and then adjust and put the chorus just on a duplicated track that I've created. Hopefully that's the sort of thing you're asking for. If not, Pete@studiolivetoday.com. In fact, I think you have emailed me, or someone, was it you? Someone emailed me and asked me a similar question. Maybe it wasn't you. But yeah, that's something that you can do. If anyone else has any questions, please let me know. Throw them in here. We have a couple of sections to go, I think. Can't even remember my own show. Wow, getting all choked up here. Let's jump into the last section here. And this is going to be fairly self-promoty again, because you may have seen, and if you haven't, you're about to see it again. But if you are looking for help with your GarageBand needs, I have put together my FAQ. And I'm hoping that all of you good folks in the Studio Live Today community can continue to help me, because I've not captured everything. Every time I get a question, I'm updating it, or I'm checking it to make sure that it has it. And if it doesn't, I'm updating. But if I share my screen with you here now, this is what it looks like. It is here at studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. Do I still have that little thing? Yep, there it is. studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. And this is what it looks like. So at the top here, I've got my 5 little items here. And apologies, I know some of you have seen me present this a couple of times if you watch all my videos, but if I know some folks only really watch the weekly show and may not be aware of this. And it's a handy tool, if I do say so myself, because at the top, we've got what is GarageBand. We've got some how to get started. I've got a link to my Quick Jam series there, and GarageBand iOS Essentials. And if we click on one of those, it'll open it up in a second tab. It'll jump us straight into the whole playlist of videos here, and you can go your hardest. You can binge watch some Studio Live Today. The next section down here is I've got all of these in alphabetical order. So everything from 24-bit audio and all of our A's there, our automations, through background mode. That's what I was talking about there. Probably need to add something to that saying doesn't work on iPad right now, as I mentioned before. Bars, compatibility, compression, etc. And like most things here, if you use a Control V or a Command V here, and let's say we wanted to search for something like EQ, well, that's going to be a bad example because there's going to be a heap of them. But you can then go through and go, boom, there you go. How to use the visual EQ in GarageBand. There it is. Are there any others that have EQ? Here we go. Noise gate, plugins and EQ, reverb, use plugins and EQ. So yeah, you can search for whatever you want there. And if you've got a question about something, so what was the question that Alan had before about splitting a track? Not a-splitting, about splitting a track. See, I don't have that. So I need to put something in there about splitting a track because that's something that people do ask me about, and I don't have it here in the FAQ. But there you go. That is our resource of the week. And if you go to studiolivetoday.com, you notice at the top there we've got the free plugins, we've got the GarageBand FAQ, my iPad and iPhone buyer's guide, and the gear guide as well, so that you can check out all of the gear that I use and recommend there. And all of those things are helping out the channel, and hopefully they're helping you. And if you have ideas for other resources, for things that you do want to see that you'd like me to include in any of those things, there is my email address. It is no secret. It is pete@studiolivetoday.com. And as I always say, I always answer everyone, but not necessarily the same day. Some days I get no email. Some days I get much email. So yeah, and I'm only one person. There's no team behind the scenes here that are helping me out. If you get a response from me, it's from me. So I need to have the time to do that. Yes, and there you go. Jade has thrown in the description there, in the chat for those that are here live, studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show and got some value. If you did, hit the like button. That just tells me that I should continue doing these weekly shows and that you are enjoying them. If you have questions or comments, please leave those down in the comments section below. Once again, head on over to studiolivetoday.com for all your GarageBand, home recording, mobile recording, and other needs. And until next time, I'll see you on the next show.